This is the WellFounder podcast.
So, welcome to the show, Kyle. It's an absolute pleasure having you on today.
Thanks. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And today, I'm loving this podcast because I've been spotlighting some really awesome founders that have been building some really cool things. Yours is no exception. I'm like I was saying before before we started recording, I'm a big gaming guy. I watch a lot of Mario, Zelda, shit like that on YouTube. And when I saw you guys were into VR and streaming, I was so curious because I'm eager to know what this is about and if this is more of a B2B or B2C thing, you know. But before we dive in, could you introduce yourself to our audience? Tell us who you are or how you go into the work you do.
My name is Kyle. I'm one of the founders at the Net VR, and it's a platform that helps people connect in a social experience. It's been kind of my hobby for a while now. Hopefully, it's going to turn into a real life business and start to grow from here. 2025, we pulled in some revenue on day one of 2025, so every penny counts, right?
Every penny counts, but that's really good. I was just chatting before you. I had the interview with another founder who's doing something crazy, man. Something like a AI cloning thing, some sci-fi shit they're building over there. And he was talking about his first revenue, which is why I bring this up. His first customer was somebody within their network, his network basically, that brought revenue. Is that similar to yours? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. You know, that's what you want, man. There's nothing like having that revenue coming in the first place. So that's a really good sign. Yeah.
Yeah. Revenues. Well, it's actually interesting. The revenue that we ended up getting, it was kind of exciting, right? This is the first day of the year, and you see that revenue click in. Hey, first customer purchased something. But yeah. Obviously, it always starts close within your network because they're your first customers that you've been reaching out to. So yeah.
That's really cool. So tell us more about this, though. When you say connecting streamers or connecting people to experiences, give us like a use case. What does that look like in practice?
So I without having to take like a huge step back or like teaching people kind of our concept of the virtual reality space or the metaverse or the internet or wherever you want to call it, cyberspace. I've been gaming for a super long time. And the live connections that you're able to get with people are super powerful. However, a lot of people don't see that live connection happening in the real life space, or excuse me, in the digital space, that it's fake or somehow not real. And so I don't believe that personally, and that's where I ended up kind of creating or coming up with this idea where, hey, live connections can happen in this virtual space, and then that's kind of what has propelled me to keep going, is having people connect live. Like right now, you and I are having a live conversation,
Sure.
but what reality are we in? And that's where our definition kind of differs from people with head-mounted displays and the like. We're connecting live right now. We are recording this for people to watch later, but you and I are having the conversation live.
Very, very interesting. Very interesting. So is this more for B2B or B2C thing? Yeah.
So it's in the gaming space, right? So
Okay.
you're a video gamer, right?
Yeah.
You're familiar with streamers and content creators. A lot of
Yeah.
content creators, they're consumers, first and
Oh.
foremost. But there's a very small select few that have turned this kind of consumer base into businesses, real life businesses. There's content creators that have exploded over the years, and they now run businesses. So are we a B2C or B2B play? We're predominantly B2C. We,
Okay.
we we thrive off of a large market, which would be the consumer market. But it does turn into the people that really end up bringing home or helping us pull in revenue are the B2B players in the space.
I was just thinking that was probably where for me that would be the better bet to go with this, like a more of a business to business kind of thing. Yeah, but then how would they use it? Would they use it like some kind of a Zoom thing, or would they use it like what would be that use case for businesses?
Our product starts as an established product. We're an extension. We're right now we appear as an extension for
Mm.
the general market. So content creators that are streaming on Twitch or YouTube or any 2D platform are able to stream into our three-dimensional platform.
Wow.
So for them, they're not really
Mm.
having to do much heavy lifting or any weight. There's no reason
Mm.
for them not to use our space, other than, hey, they can start pulling in revenue from our 3D space, where instead of just staying with the 2D, you know, platforms that are out there, they're able to use our extension that pulls their customer, their pulls their viewers into this new social 3D space.
No, that is so crazy. I was watching one report recently, like because I'm in the UK, and they're saying that the nightclub industry or the nightlife industry is dying because nobody's going out like that anymore. I grew up clubbing and shit like that. So, but apparently, this new gen, they don't go out like that. So, a lot of their socializing is done online. So, I'm guessing this is a gap your platform is kind of feeling anyway.
It so I use the analogy. I try and teach people generationally. Like I'm not quite sure how old you are, but I'm in my close to 40s, and my playground was a park, but my parents' playground was someone's backyard. The kids these days, like they don't know what parks are. Other kids don't use parks. Their park is Roblox. Their park is video games. They are using the digital space better. They're using it uh healthier. They're using the space in a healthy manner. And unfortunately, our generation and the older generation, I don't think we know how to really use that space like they do. But because they've grown up with it, because they've been stuck with phones. I mean, you watch a 2-year old look at a touchscreen phone, and they're able to use it before they can even walk sometimes. So it's crazy. It is a different reality, but they're growing up with it, and they're able to kind of understand it better because that's their playground, right? So the nightclubs and stuff like you and I went out to, they'll go hang out with their friends and play video games until the wee hours of the night because that's their fun, that's their entertainment.
It's crazy. Them guys, they're weird.
It's totally changing society, and it's one of those things where, hey, like, if you were around during the revolutions of like the printing press, or with the first caveman that found fire, like I'm sure that the first caveman that brought over fire was like, hey, look at this, and all the other cavemen were freaking out, running around with their heads, like what are you doing? So it's really, we're kind of in that point of society where, hey, we have a huge, massive technology. It's growing, and it's dangerous, but it also can provide really really good value for society.
I agree. Why do you say it's dangerous though? What about it is dangerous?
When you don't understand it, right? Like, so I mean, to go back to the analogy of like fire can burn you if you don't use it
Hmm.
appropriately. But you can see where there's big players that have control over the fire, and they can kind of
Hmm.
move it where they want to move it, where instead of giving fire to everybody else, you know, and allowing them to control it, just the big players are predominantly using it at this point in time, at least from what I
Hmm.
see. Uh, yeah, it could be dangerous. There's things out there you can radicalize people, and that's one of the big
Hmm.
things and one of the big topics. In the beginning of this year, obviously, some people quote unquote got radicalized, and bad things happened. Is it
Hmm.
solely from the internet? Is it solely from being able to reach out and connect with networks that are maybe seen as not healthy? Yeah, I mean, because the internet, so you can connect. Like I can't go over to and learn about a different culture and be radicalized by that culture within the United States, because I'm not physically there in real reality, but I can jump in the internet and I'm able to connect to basically anybody anywhere now without limitations. So without putting up proper boundaries or saying like, hey, when someone gets on a plane and flies over to a suspicious country, they get put on a red flag list over and over and over again. You can't really do that in the virtual space at this point in time.
Hmm. That is very, very interesting. I foresee, because it's a tough one because of that. Then you're going into this whole free speech censorship area, and then how do you regulate something like this? Is that something you guys will do with your platform, or is it open? Can is it open to everything?
No, so we go off of our three principles of time, space, and matter. So time is past, present, future. The space is three-dimensional, and then the matter's bit. So it's software. We're developing software,
Mm.
trying to help people understand once they're able to understand that hey, like if I have to leave the country, I have to have a passport. I have to have something that verifies me. I have to do something, you know, in order to get into a bar or something like that, you have to show your ID, right? And you physically are there with your ID card, right?
Hmm.
So some type of ID system. We've definitely tried to look at having some type of verified ID system, or for businesses that are better, or maybe considered not healthy, or potentially like gambling, or something of alcohol, that there's a way to actually verify that customer on the other side. We do it in real reality. We do verify in real reality that you are of age and that you are of, but in the virtual space, it's not free speech. It's just up in the air. It's thrown out in the air. And does it hinder the internet? Yes, it does, but again, it goes back to that fire thing we were just saying. Like, hey, you're burning these younger generations. You know, they're not ready, or they're not able to handle the more complex connections and emotions. So, I mean, just because you want to maintain your free speech, you want to hurt other people because they don't have the capacity to understand it. To me, that's not okay.
I like that. At least I like that you're at least thinking about it in that regards. Because of building something new like this, you don't necessarily think about the stuff that could go wrong when you're building stuff like this. So it's good, at least you're putting that in the background, because I foresee this. We're talking about these guys being weird. Their kids are gonna be even weird. there's gonna be like a future where everybody just I don't even want to know what that looks like. So I'm guessing there's gonna be more regulation in things like this. So I guess that's where you guys could come in and play a role.
Well,
I am yeah, go on.
I will just say we don't like regulation. Like we don't
Yeah,
want things to necessarily be regulated, but
yeah.
there's a point where consciously you can use the space at any age, right? When we're born into the world, like day one starts. But you have parents, and you usually have people in society that can watch over it and help you use the space appropriately. And
Mm,
it's just building that network, and one of the applications that we plug into, they have really healthy communities. So the policing is already built in to the
mm,
communities themselves, to maintain and make sure that, hey, what are you doing over there? Someone is tapping you on the shoulder, and you're not left alone to your own,
mm.
and it diving too far into your own personal vices.
That is brilliant. Actually, I like that you use the word policing. So it's kind of like a community police, self-policing kind of thing. Okay, okay. Because I don't know if you've ever been on the what is it called, Grand Theft. You know how toxic them rules can get. They need some self-policing community going on there, because it gets very very toxic in there. So okay, okay. That's awesome. So okay, now in terms of building this, I'm curious. How do you, and this if that's the right word, or how do you foresee users earning revenue, or how does that work? Is it like a
So
sponsorship thing, or
we're like the cotton, or we're trying to create like the cotton of the internet, per se. So
hmm,
like, right? So like you sell a t-shirt, right? Someone made the t-shirt for $3, and then someone put a print on it for $10, and then someone shipped it for $3, and then the end customer pays $15. We're trying to be that cotton layer of the
hmm,
internet. The 3D cotton layer is where what we're aiming for. Or how we
hmm,
pull in revenue. So content creator, right? Content creators that are growing will try and bridge into the space by selling real life merchandise. And there's players out there that can print t-shirts and take your logo and slap it on a t-shirt, and then viewers can support you by going and purchasing those t-shirts. Instead of purchasing a real life t-shirt, you're just able to buy a digital asset and support the content creator that way. So it's a little bit less expensive for the customer, and then you're still able to support that customer by interacting in the world and showing off. Hey, you run into a big space and you have your favorite content creator shirt on. It strikes up a conversation with somebody else because it's a cool looking shirt, or someone else recognizes it and you're like, oh hey, we both can bond over this one artist that we know. um, and that's how we generate revenue within the space. There's a lot of other ways to generate revenue with ads and everything. If going from a 2D web page to a 3D space, there's more room for ads, unfortunately. But that's not how predominantly we want to make revenue. We really want people to be able to personalize and be able to customize, their self in the space, in the 3D space.
I like that. There's so much room for ideas and concepts, or it's kind of like a rabbit hole, really, like pretty much a blank slate with this stuff. Huh. Very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so in terms of building this now, is how big is your team?
We have 36 volunteers working on
Oh
the
wow!
current project.
Oh wow!
Yeah, we've onboarded and offboarded a number of volunteers onto the project. Because we're pre-revenue, we've tried to go out
Mm.
and seek funding, but the founding team doesn't have a strong investor network, unfortunately. Uh, that hasn't stopped us though from creating the idea and vision, and it hasn't stopped us from going out and finding people that enjoy or can almost see the vision enough to want to be able to help. And it's been fun. It's been fun. We've got people from all different calibers that are on our team, and it's amazing to see the work that they do, and when they show up and help.
I can imagine when you're building something like this and having people actually volunteering their time to help you build it. That must be really good, man. A good feeling. Oh, I'm guessing all the challenges. I like to ask, what would you say is the biggest challenge in terms of building this?
Biggest challenge is it almost the biggest challenge is very weird because a lot of people, like you said earlier, was how do you teach this concept initially? And when we first started, we joined some of the networking accelerators that you can join. And this elder, told me, hey, like, I don't get it. I would pitch to him 5 different times, uh, you know, 50 different ways of trying to just get him to explain it. He finally, it was our turn to do our deep dive, and he put his hands on the product, on our prototype, and he's like, "Oh, I got it now." Like, I like, so so one of the biggest challenges goes back to of I just have to get the product in individuals' hands for them to be able to see and understand it. Being a gamer, you kind of got a big smile on your face. I think you probably already get it. You already can see the vision. It's very easy. But for other individuals, it's a lot harder to see the connection. Right now we have social media, right? Social media isn't very social. You and I are being more social than social media is at this moment in time, right? So
So true. So true. I can imagine like building something like abstract like this, especially when investors are a certain generation. I can imagine that that gap for you guys there. That is a big challenge. How do you, okay, I guess when you say physical, they had to get their hands on the prototype. Was the prototype like what was that? Is that like a drawing, or what
Uh,
was that?
no, the prototype, we had a full working prototype. So we built the prototype. It won best in play at GDC.
I
We
see.
had massive sticky traction where our content creators, our first kind of 10 content creators that helped build our prototype, they used the application for over a year and a half.
I
So
see.
the traction was super scary, super sticky. We knew exactly our client that we needed to go and grab, and they all loved the product. Um, they won't sign letters of intent. So a lot of investors were like, "You need to get letters of intent." We went and tried to get
Hmm.
letters of intent. Ga- Gamers are were like, "Dude, just tell me when the product's ready. I'm not going to bother signing a letter of intent for you to go show an investor. Like, I don't care." So, we go back to investors and be like, "Well, this is the feedback we got," and they're like, "Well, you need letters of intent." We're like, "Okay, so you're not the right investor." It's been fun. It's been kind of a roundabout way to try and get that initial funding. Right, software comes with its own complications. It takes a lot of money to build. a product or build an application, all that money's up front, right?
Mm,
So that money goes into software and development predominantly, and then you start getting your network. With us, we're not necessarily or marketing, but we're not necessarily too worried about the marketing because it's sticky. It's so sticky, and we just need 2 or 3 or 4 events to show up to, and I mean, we can easily get to that 10K number overnight. And for us, that's almost scarier that our market is that sticky. But trying to explain that to investors when investors can't grasp the concept is it's been a big challenge.
I can imagine. This is probably a generational thing.
It's yeah, and yep. It's also a generational thing. I do see that, right? I say, well, tell your kids about the game, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, sure, baby. But yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Like like I'm glad. One thing obviously as a entrepreneur is all about solving problems, and you've come up with a, kind of like a solution. Get their hands on the prototype. So once they mess around with it a lot, they get it, and yeah. Like Trump, there's something Trump said when I don't know if you. Sorry to bring politics into this, but there's something he said that stuck to me after he won. He was like he was asking his son the kind of podcast to go to, and he didn't even know what a podcast was, but he was asking his son. His son would tell him go here or go to this streamer or go to that. So that's something I guess if you want to attract that generation, then it's something for founders to consider. But anyway, that's by the way. But you tell me though, what has been the biggest highlight in building this though?
Just being able to help develop other individuals. I think it's nice when we're a volunteer organization, but a lot of people have been like, I've been searching for a job for 9 months and I just have to work for free now. They've worked for us for 3 or 4 months, and then they come back and they're like, hey, like thank you for the time the time that was here at the Net VR was awesome. But I need to make money. I need to be able to, put food on the table. I wish we could help people put food on the table, but we just don't have revenue yet, unfortunately, and we can't get that investment dollar rolling our way. So what we've been able to do, or for me, the healthy thing is to see those individuals come back later and be like, yeah, thank you very much for the time. Thank you very much for the support. And so that's been very fruitful for me to be able to help those individuals move on with a career path or gain some traction within the software development career path.
I can imagine, especially with that amount of volunteers you guys have on there. That's crazy. You definitely got a lot of people involved there. Crazy.
It's it's it has its own challenges. None of the challenges, like just the human resource challenge alone, is monumental. We haven't even got into the coding part yet, right? So we have a wonderful team. The founding team is amazing at being able to pull people on and share the vision and get people to help out. And I mean, our the founding team is amazing. They're some of the top notch people.
So cool. What role do you play in this in the team?
So executive, the executive in the vision. So this vision of trying to be able to connect people live in a three-dimensional space in software. It's some of the most powerful, right? It is the most powerful space. I think predominantly most people use social media right now in not live space. And a lot of people are very scared of connecting with other individuals in the virtual space. But if you've played any kind of multiplayer, first person perspective, shooter or anything like that, you're connecting with people live. And I've done that for most of my life. That was my hobby. I love gaming. Couldn't make it big in gaming. 20 years ago. I laugh because there was a point where Bitcoin was 1 Bitcoin. So first place was $100. Second place was 50. Third was 25, and third place was 2 Bitcoin. So like, I come from a generation where hey, you couldn't really make it unless you got fourth place at that point in time, but you couldn't really make it gaming, professional gaming at least. you can these days. And the gaming stars are rising. They're out there. Esports is around the corner. It continually comes up and down as the space matures, and we're primed right there, right in that space.
I couldn't agree more. It's a very good time to be in that space. I mean, speaking of Bitcoin, now anybody will take the 2 Bitcoin for first place instead of.
Oh yeah, yep.
Awesome, awesome. This has been an awesome chat, Kyle. You've given us a really good insight into this product, and I'm definitely gonna be checking it out myself. But yeah, if I always like to leave my audience with a final tip from our guest. If there's one thing you could share with our audience, something that we could take and then apply to our own business, what would that be?
Yeah, follow passion, I guess, would be the best one that I would say. Uh, sorry, I guess in business, if you're really in business, you need to make sure you're following the revenue and following your customers. So if you have a passion and your passion is scalable to a large number of people, awesome. If it's not, if it's just making a burger on the side of the road, you're going to be scalable enough to be able to have a successful business, or you should be able to. Depending on your economics, the economics I think right now are kind of blindsided to that. But if you just follow your passion and just stick with it, and it is pulling in your revenue, or it is pulling in revenue, just stick with that, and you should be fine. You'll make it through. We'll all make it through.
I love it. I love it. And my own add to that would be just see if you can find like a part-time job while you're building that, because of that will, or something to cover you until that starts making money. That would be my own tip in there, But yeah, 100% agree with you. Might as well, man. Life is short. As long as you can see revenue in there, man, go for it. Brilliant, Kyle. This has been awesome. And where can our viewers go learn more about you? Possibly sign up for the next VR? What's the best way for them to do that?
So the NetVR is on thenetvr.com. It's our domain. You can go on there, and hopefully we're going to be revamping the website soon, and we'll be able to actually get into our product as a tester. So you can sign up, or you don't even need to sign up. You can just jump in. You can start seeing some of these theaters. That's fingers crossed. We might be able to get that done hopefully by next month. But our Discord is where we're most active, and then you can follow me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is where I get to kind of do my own spiel, because it's not connected to the gaming space. So it's far enough away from our customers that we share information out there.
I think, yeah, because your customers are going to be on LinkedIn.
yeah, no gamers are using LinkedIn. No, not really.
Awesome, Kyle. This has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you very much.